He's the latest sensation in the rap industry. A rising star, straight from Detroit. And he's got a story. Next, on his lifestyle.
Hello, I'm Gina Woodham. Welcome to It's a Lifestyle, where we interview people with interesting careers and hobbies, which for my guests, it's more than a career. It becomes a lifestyle. And I'm hoping my guests inspire some of you to gather your hidden talents and aspirations to build your own unique career. Today's guest has been 10 years in the rap industry, 2 CDs under his belt, the latest, Roses and Razor Blades. Please welcome Hush.
How you doing?
So, let's go back in time. Once upon a time, as a child, what activities would you say seem to correlate, perhaps, with your pursuits now?
I guess more or less growing up in Detroit, in the streets, more or less kind of raising me, being out, hanging out all night, and those kind of things. They kind of, if you listen to rap songs, you hear everybody always referring to the streets. And it's kind of like it's kind of a lifestyle that you grow up into, and with rap music being in the streets, you're kind of like raised up on it.
And you had other activities too. You played ball.
Oh yeah, I played kickball and dodgeball, softball, whatever. You know, basketball was the main thing. So.
Well, at what point did you seem to find your intense passion for music, for this art form?
Probably. It had to be around the time that the song called Reckless came out. It was a song by Ice-T, and it was featured in the movie Breakin'. And it was a song that I just heard, and the music just like wrapped me into it. And around my household, we always had rock and roll playing. My father was a big rock and roll fan, and hearing it in the streets, it was like, it was new to me, and I kind of like grasped onto it. It was unique, and just like, I just loved it, and just like grasped onto it, and that was pretty much it from there on. I just was wrapped into it. So no, this is something that I really like.
You also mentioned Big Daddy Kane.
Yeah. Yeah, he was an artist that early on, he was known for like sort of like a syllable style. The way he would tangle words together was something that, like, it was real unique, and he just had and you see him in the videos, and you see him in the rap books, and he more or less had a persona about him that it just stood out from everybody else, that I just loved it.
Well, now, you know, the one thing I notice about rap music is the poetry. It seems to stand out more than other types of music.
Right.
As well as the rhythm and the music background. Which did you gravitate more from at first, would you say?
It probably had to be the words, the poetry of it.
Do you write poetry on your own?
Yeah, I actually keep a journal and a diary of stuff, just thoughts that I just, are thinking, and that kind of thing, and you just jot them down here and there, and whenever something pops in your head, you just, make a note of it, and eventually you come back to it and you try to expand on it. That's what I always did. But when it came to rap, it was more or less what they were saying, and it just seemed like rap was something that was more detailed in what they were saying, rather than, rock and roll and country and those kind of music, that kind of music just seemed like, to me it just seemed not fake, but formed already.
No.
And rap was more or less just loose. They were just able to say whatever they wanted to say, and it just wasn't as structured as the rest of the genres that I listened to.
You sold furniture? Schlepped, as you said?
I was a warehouse man for Art Van Furniture, which is like the biggest, probably one of the biggest furniture retailers up in Detroit.
And you did that for a while, and then at some point you decided, okay, I'm going to quit and concentrate on my music. Now, What made you decide to make that leap?
Probably, I was working on my music at the same time as working, and being a rapper and really this is all you really want to do. That's all your mindset is. This is what I want to do. I don't want to work in a warehouse. I don't want to, I don't want to do all these crazy, dirt jobs when this is my dream. And being a rapper, sometimes you would be up all night, writing or producing a track or recording. And the way this all started was I would find myself like being up all night and couldn't get up for work. And so finally I said, you know what, I can do this during the day. I don't need to, I can do this at night. This should just be what I'm doing. If I need to make it in this business, I need to pursue it 100%. And I can't do it if I'm doing an 8-hour job and I'm getting off of work. I've been working my fingers to the bone and I'm just too tired to even, be involved in what's my dream. So it just got to a point where I just said, you know what, I don't need to do this anymore.
So they overlapped a little bit.
They did overlap for a little bit, and then it just became just too hectic to where I just had to say, you know what, this is what I want to do. I'm just gonna, I had to leave it behind. A lot of people at the job were, it was 50-50. Half of the people would say, you shouldn't quit, man. You shouldn't quit because you're gonna end up nowhere. Who says you're gonna make it? That kind of thing. And then the other half was like, man, I wish I could do that. I can't do that. I got a wife. I got 4 kids at home and all that. And my lifestyle it made me able to do that.
In your bio, you mentioned being nurtured and Maurice Malone's hip hop shop. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
Well, Maurice Malone owned a shop. It was called the Hip Hop Shop. It was on West 7 Mile in Detroit. And on the weekends, they would have freestyle battles. And Maurice Malone is a clothing designer, and he was one of the biggest. I'm not sure if he still is, but he sold Maurice Malone clothes, and it was real hot at the time. And this was around '95, and we used to go there on the weekends, and they'd have people put their names in a hat, and the rappers would get into the battles. And I never really got into the battles because I kind of did the battles already, like around school and that kind of stuff. And I kind of concentrated more on being a songwriter, and but I was kind of nurtured around the same group of people that have pretty much came out already, Slum Village and Eminem and D12, and all of us kind of like, we all kind of like, you feed off of each other. And Detroit, the hip-hop community is so small, and everybody, so you feed off of each other. So when I say I was nurtured, it was more or less not nurtured through Maurice Malone, but the hip-hop shop was more or less a hub for all the MCs to come together and showcase their talent.
We want to talk more about that, and we will next on It's the Lifestyle. Stay tuned.
We walk to the park sometimes, my whole family. We get to feed the fish. And we play like monkeys. Dad plays the hardest, so he gets the most tired. We always say goodbye to the fish last. I think that makes them feel good.
Family, isn't it about time? From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Welcome back to It's the Lifestyle. We're talking to MC, producer, actor Hush. You are credited with a vast knowledge on the hip-hop industry. Why was that important to you? Why is that important to you?
It's important to me because performing, being involved in hip-hop, you have to have some sort. This is your life. This is me. And hip-hop to me is it's not just something that I do. This is me, 100% of my lifestyle. It's a way of life for me. It's a culture for me. So it's ever changing. It's something that's always looking back and projecting the future. You're constantly changing trends. It's a trend-setting culture, and for me, it was when it comes to hip hop and performing and being an MC. you have to know where it came from. You have to know where it started from, because if you don't know that, you will never know where it's going. You know, you have to remember, it's sort of like you might leave your neighborhood, but you always know where you started from. So
you went as far as to do a collaborative with the Ruckus, 150 MCs. How did that relationship develop? And let's talk about that track.
Well, the Ruckus was it's kind of, I call it my baby. It was an idea I had for a group. It was around the time that Wu-Tang had came out, and they had a song called "Bring the Ruckus," and I thought that the song just like completely interpreted how I wanted to come into the industry. You know, I wanted to come in with a force, you know, and I wanted to bring the ruckus when I came into the industry. And I thought that that's like the perfect name for a group. And I had a group member before. It didn't work out between us two. And then I eventually teamed up with a gentleman by the name of Ill, who's like, to me at the time, was just like one of the best MCs out of Detroit. And we kept tooling around with the name, tooling around with names. And he said, you know, you should keep that name, the Ruckus, that you started out with. Because I was kind of solo before, but being that I wanted to do a group thing, I wanted to find somebody that we could do that together with. I wanted to come out as a group first before I was a solo artist. And we teamed up, and we called it the Ruckus. And we did 2 albums. And the first album, it did pretty good. And then the second album, we got a lot of national attention. It was mainly because of 150 MCs. And basically, I had this idea in my head of a song that took 150 MCs' names or group name and twisted it into a story and using their names as metaphors. So it was a real creative song, and it took me 3 versions of it to finally get it to where I really liked it. I had 3 versions of it as a story, but the third one is the one that stuck to me the most. And I did it, and it didn't have any chorus in it. It was just one long story, and it named off everybody from Jay-Z to even back to the old school Big Daddy Kane and Slick Rick and Dana Dane and Snoop Dogg, and just twisted all their names into a story. And that song alone generated a real nice buzz for me in Detroit and nationwide. So.
You also had a relationship with Eminem.
Mm-hmm.
How did that develop? What was created out of that?
I used to, like I said, he'd be at the Maurice Malone's hip hop shop, and he was doing a solo album called Infinite at the time, and the Ruckus was together, and we were doing our album, and he lived in the same neighborhood as I did. And I used to go over his house all the time because one of my DJs that I originally started rapping with was his roommate. So I'd always be at the house. I always knew who Marshall was, and Marshall and I started hanging out. Roughly, we became pretty good friends the year before he blew up, sort of say. I had a 2-year-old son at the time. He had a 2-year-old daughter, and they used to play together and all that stuff, and we kind of vibed off each other. And he taught me a lot about writing and that kind of stuff. He kind of added a twist into what I was doing.
Well, now, let's go back a second. I know when you're talking about all these endeavors, a lot of times it happens because of good financial backing.
Right.
And so let's talk about that. Let's take us down that path and how that all came about.
Well, it just seemed like the Ruckus as a group at the time, before I went solo, was we were putting all our hard-earned money into it, and it became, I mean, it came to a point where we would skip rent and fund our CDs, and we would skip rent and you know, pay for flyers and whatever it took. And we just, it got so stressful on us as a group, because sometimes one group member, Ill, would be putting in more money than I would be, and then when I'd put in money, you know, we just did it all the time, and it just got too stressful. We're going, like, you know, we can't be doing this anymore. This is, you know, we have to maintain our personal life, and we have to separate it. But we knew that if we separated it, it'd probably be the end of our you know, product. You know, if you can't push it, you're not going to sell anything. You're not going to make a name for yourself. So watching Eminem around us, Eminem had Mark Bass around him, and he had Mark Kemp around him, and these were his producers, these were his managers, and they would fund him. They would make sure that his product was out. They would take care of his recording costs. They would take care of his flights up to New York or flights to LA and stuff like that, and to get him out there and exposed. And eventually, after our group kind of dissolved and we kind of went our ways, and we went our ways peacefully, just because our creative minds were going in two different directions. He wanted to go one way, I wanted to go one way. After that dissolved, I decided to kind of seek out a financial backer to take care of take the reins sort of and get me out there to where I needed to be exposed. And it was a little bit of a funny process, but eventually we worked it out, and it's been lovely ever since. So
we want to talk more about that.
Sounds good.
And we will next on It's Lifestyle.
A rapper who goes by the name of Hush is getting national buzz, and Detroit is the backdrop for his new video.
Appreciation. Pass it on. A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Welcome back to It's Lifestyle. We're talking to MC, producer, actor, Hush. So let's talk about the process. Then you went forth to find your actual financial backer.
Well, actually, they found me. A company called Diamond Entertainment Group, they were funding an artist, and they were looking for producers. And I made it known in Detroit that I was a producer. I pretty much produced for everybody that was up and coming. And they approached me about producing tracks for his album or a project that he was working on that might have turned out to be an album. And we got involved together. I produced some tracks for him. They heard everything that I was doing and wanted to get involved in my project somehow. And we formed a partnership, and the rest is history pretty much.
You did a lot on your own at first, and then you met up with a guy named Shane Capone that you now work with, Rock City Records.
Right. Well, Rock City Records was Shane's label. He started it on his own. He pretty much he's been doing it for roughly 7 years now. Shane was an artist on his own. He had a group called MOB before that I used to produce tracks for when I was with the Ruckus. And Shane and I he was actually a friend of my group partner. And Shane eventually went solo from his group, MOB, and approached me about doing tracks for his solo album. And I said, all right, no problem. I love working on this stuff. And he approached me maybe 3/4 into his project about becoming a partner in Rock City Records, because we formed a bond, pretty much a real good friendship. I actually became his roommate, and we just hit it off as friends more than business. And then the business aspect of it was just so much fun that we just intertwined them together, and that's how Rock City became pretty much a big thing of mine.
Did y'all see eye to eye on your music and artists?
We trusted each other. I mean, it's more or less, it's not necessarily an eye-to-eye thing. It was more or less if there was something he was doing that I thought he could do better, I would tell him, and he would soak it in, and it was nothing. And if I felt the same way, if he felt the same way about something that I was doing, he felt free to tell me. And I always take advice easy, so it was always a mutual respect with everything we were doing.
If you could define what he already had in place, and then at the same time what creative forces you brought to the table, do you feel?
As a solo artist, Shane was selling 10,000 units in the Midwest, and doing that on his own. He was making trips on his own by himself. This is just a solo artist with his own financial backing on his own, and was selling records in Tennessee and Indiana and Ohio and everywhere else he could think of that would push his record. And he'd make sure that he was out in those cities every weekend pushing his record, doing car shows and everything like that. So he pretty much established his label in this little region. But it just wasn't that big of a scale for the rest of the world to see. So he kind of like, he was building it as a ground, you know, from the ground up, and it's a slow process, but it was working for him. And when I got involved, what I brought to the table was my production, because Shane always had to go look for production because he didn't know how to produce the music. So when he came to me, it more or less became in-house production. Anybody that we ever wanted to work with, I did all the production for. So it was kind of like one hand was washing the other.
And you've now produced 2 CDs together. How do those differ, would you say?
Well, my first solo album was called There Goes the Neighborhood. And it was 21 tracks, and it was more or less a beginning for me. I didn't know the focus of what I was really trying to do. I was just trying to record and find my way as a solo artist, because I had never been solo before. I was always in the ruckus. So now that I stepped out of the ruckus and doing things on my own, I needed to find my way. So There Goes the Neighborhood was pretty much a process of finding myself and in combining everything about me into that album. I mean, I had complete personal issues on that album, and then I had complete zaniness, you know, and wit, that, and I try to add the, you know, a comedian factor into it. That if you get to know me, that's what all of that intertwines with me as a person. So I tried to project all of that into that album, and between that album and Roses and Razor Blades, I kind of developed myself a lot more and saw the path that I wanted to take, and through everybody listening to There Goes the Neighborhood and getting their feedback on it, it kind of helped me like find a way for Roses and Razor Blades, which way I wanted to go with it. And it just became, it became more detailed than as wide open as There Goes the Neighborhood was.
Hush, it's been a pleasure talking with you.
No problem.
If you have someone that you would like to see on It's a Lifestyle, please call us here at 770-559-2644. Most of all, have faith in your dreams, have faith in yourself. I'm Gina Woodham. We'll see you next time. Thanks.
D-E-T-R-O-I-T, that's where I was born. Top dog MC, drunk off the funk so bad I might spin. Mr. White folks, black girls say I'm light skinned. The H-U-S-S-H-H, strolling through the hood in my candy paint. Seats laid back, just cruising the mo. If I ain't on 7 Mile, I'm in the studio. My 88 sits high so I can fit them rims. 20-inch high, all chrome day 10s. Born and raised in the 313. You take me out of the D, but not the D out of me. Playboy, I never was a baller of sorts. Call it a sport. Game is tight, taller than short. Hey yo, why must I be like that? Why must I just the cash? It's like that, Detroit players is all about doing what it takes to stack the dough. And when we walk in the club, we already drunk and we party till it's time to go. Detroit players like to get that cash. Detroit players just love to flash. We spend a whole lot of time in the mall and in the car watching ladies shake they bitties.
Yo, Pink Gators, my Detroit players, all about the cash in, all about the flashing. These Detroit players go back like nanny goats on tracks with rapid quotes. Got knack for cabbage growth and a habit to toke on that sticky Bruce Banner, all up in the truck cabin like 2 loose cannons. So sit back and just enjoy the ride and let the bass bump high inside the ride. In a Yukon XL with the dual exhaust, we might slide through the city with jewels and floss. So you might catch us in the coupe or the widest 6 with a pocket full of loose, scooping the finest chicks. These Detroit players been down since Mojo. Just specify the dough and we'll electrify flow. From downtown Belle Isle to 7 Mile, we got money by the pile in the club acting wild. Detroit players is all about doing what it takes to stack the dough. And when we walk in the club, we already drunk and we party till it's time to go. Detroit players like to get that cash. Detroit players just love to flash. We spend a whole lot of time in the mall and in the car watching ladies shake they.
gotta keep that funky. We gotta keep it funky. We gotta keep it funky. I'm the self-proclaimed coolest cat in the game. All the ladies like the way that I be doing my thing. They tell me, Big Daddy, don't you never change. They give me $100 bills and they kiss on my ring. What could it be, dawg? Is it because I'm a star? Is it because I be with Hush and Chain Capone in the bar? Is it the way that I be leaning to the side in my car? They like the way that I be living cause I'm living so large. Detroit players is all about doing what it takes to stack the dough. And when we walk in the club, we already drunk and we party till it's time to go. Detroit players like to get that cash. Detroit players just love to flash. We spend a whole lot of time in the mall and in the watching ladies shake they. Detroit players is all about doing what it takes to stack the dough. And when we walk in the club, we already drunk and we party till it's time to go. Detroit players like to get that cash. Detroit players just love to flash. We spend a whole lot of time in the mall and in the bar watching ladies shake they. Yeah. Tell you what my crew's got. Run your jewels. I come through, head nod, tilt your glass. Check the heat on your side, better hide your stash. And a player out here calculating the type. See, I add your ice when I subtract it right. All of this out here's my time to burn. Till the heat dies down, just watch and learn. When the ice melts off of that platinum grill, we'll see who's left with only half the skill. See, I'm off the chain, like initial pendants. Robert Stiller, but you the killer. Blast my man if it's trouble dealer. My mission is to make the bloody miller. Self-made, paper rotter, street living, make it out of. Before somebody take you out of the game. Too many faces lames in the way, okay. I take this space, now we face to face. Toe to toe, flow for flow. If we do a street fight, flow for flow, ride. Sip the brew, I smoke the herb with the crew. I gotta get these papers, got me stuck in like glue. Ass Hush. Hold down, Mike.
Oh, Mr. Hush, how you liking things so far?
Man, I'm just wilding out. This is like my first video ever in the history of of America. You caught that. I need one more. Seven girls, not 6. First track had to be, a straight up cameo appearances, with Dale. E-Dub will be here later on about 2 o'clock.
Oh, that's a salt chug.
But it doesn't make sense to have a video without cars and girls, you know what I'm saying? Because that's what it's all about.
I'm really broke. I had to rob somebody for this money, so
just for the video shoot.
I don't even have a job.
So who's paying for everything today?
These nuts.
These nuts.
Pow! A rapper who goes by the name of Hush is getting national buzz, and Detroit is the backdrop for his new video. Action News reporter Kimberly Craig is live at the State Fairgrounds with more on this rising star. Kim?
Well, Robbie, if it's ever been your dream to be in a music video, a rap video, now's your chance to get on down here to the State Fairgrounds. Now, they've just began taking a break right now, as a matter of fact. Now, the album won't be out to the fall, but the single Detroit Players was just released today, and the video shoot began bright and early. Meet Detroit's rising star, Daniel Carlisle, better known as Hush. Yeah, that's right, Hush, as in be quiet on this set.
As long as I've been doing this stuff, Detroit artists have always stuck together anyway, and it didn't even matter if the industry was looking for us anyway. We just wanted to build up together and maybe come up together and then let the industry see that we're doing our own thing here and trying to, maybe turn this into, what Motown used to be.
See, he got funk. That's the difference that separates him between Eminem and Kid Rock. He coming with funk.